I'm Jay-Z.
I'm Daniel.
This is Just My DIY.
And today we're here to debut our experience with the Cricut Mug Press.
Yes, we got it a couple of days ago and pressed our first mug today and decided to go a little bigger. As Sheesh So Crafty demonstrated, you can actually do skinny tumblers in the Cricut Mug Press.
So we started off with 20 and 30 ounce white blank tumblers to experiment on.
Yeah, we made quite a few mistakes, as you can see. So today we're going to tell you the 5 mistakes you should avoid when trying to do skinny tumblers in the Cricut Mug Press. First mistake, trying to use infusible ink paper. You're probably familiar with these designs Cricut has, and we tried this not once but twice before we realized you can't do it. Infusible ink paper works great on a one-time press, but when you try to do multiple presses,
you end up with smoke plumes and ruined ink on half of it, so you came out beautiful on the bottom, very sad on top, sad face. And of course it is just faded. And you know, this is based on a lot of mistakes, but the paper itself just has its primary issues.
Yeah, so again, for a single time press, this mug that we did was with the infusible ink paper. It works on the machine. It does not work on the skinny tumblers. Instead, you'll need a sublimation printer or some sublimation paper, perhaps the infusible ink pens, but we didn't give those a try today.
Next on the list, we had created a cardboard insert to close the gap on closing the gap. However, we did not like the results of this. We saw a lot of steam and other things coming out of it that made us paranoid. We know paper ignites at 457 degrees Fahrenheit, and this thing...
It's probably around 400 because that's usual for Cricut infusible ink stuff.
So for her, it smelled much like a campfire, and we were not comfortable with this. So we went with a much healthier version of a silicone insert.
Yep.
We started off with one of those round trivets, cut it down into a basic square shape, and used some of the spare pieces to create smaller inserts. Silicone is generally good to 500 and some odd degrees, and we felt very safe with it. We got no awkward smells, didn't have any heat issues.
And it provided a little extra squishiness, whereas eventually the cardboard is going to collapse. You're just going to have to keep cutting new pieces, but this retained its shape. I think it'll be good for several of these kinds of presses.
Or many of them. All of them.
Hundreds.
They could last forever. I don't know. It's silicone. It's whatever.
So for the third mistake to avoid is not covering the bottom. When you look inside the Cricut Mug Press, you'll see there is that silver metal plate. That can scratch up the bottoms of your tumblers. Luckily, Sheesh So Crafty actually pointed that out in her video, so we knew to avoid that. But we did ours a little differently. She said perhaps tape off the bottom. Instead, we cut a little circle out of butcher paper and just put that down right in there. Now, it's important to know you want to do a small circle so that it's that size, not a big circle that fits it before it has been closed.
Now, because our tumblers are different sizes in circumference and such, when we go ahead and close it, even with the silicone inserts in place, you don't get a full 360 degree contact. In fact, you could never get a full 360 degree contact. With a large one, you need to work with a base of 2 turns and 1 piece of silicone.
Yes.
And with a large one, with the small ones, we need to work with 3 turns.
Yes. And Daniel actually came up with a great idea, which was to actually mark on the butcher paper, mark it in thirds that we had wrapped around our sublimation wrap. So that way he knew how much to turn it. And we did what, 60 seconds each, and then turned it by a third, and then of course flipped it over 60 seconds on each of those sides as well.
Which making a marking for your level of where to keep your number 5 mistake in check.
So the heat zones on this is really interesting. This is not an industry term, is what we're calling it. We noticed a couple of key facts about how this heats and where it heats that we wanted to point out to you. So first of all, you think you're going to get heat all the way up to the very top, but as we discovered with this tumbler, that's not the case. When you look at, this is a large blank Cricut mug, it actually doesn't go all the way to the top. And so we don't think that this actually heats well all the way at the top because it wasn't designed to. And
it matches with our large tumblers, great looking bottom, and the stop of the heat zone on the top.
Yeah, and you'll actually see, and we'll get a close-up of this for you, that the fade starts well below where the top of this is. So we're guessing it's about maybe an inch down for where you have really solid heat. Now, the other thing to keep in mind with your heat zones is that when you are flipping your mug over and putting it on there, there is a gap at the bottom. And because you don't have a solid plate here, this goes all the way down and over, and that's what causes some of this ghosting that you see at the top.
You can definitely see if we replace it with the large mug or the small mug that the level on the bottom can be easily notated. You know, you don't use your finger, but you can find about a finger's depth inside of there.
Right.
So when we are inserting the mug, we're going to go ahead and stop it shy of that and then press.
Yes. So basically it's floating, and then you clamp it in there with whatever awesome silicone bumpers you put in there to get the good grip. So those are our 5 tips, or I guess 5 mistakes that we made at first that we hope you can avoid. We will say on the last one, and we'll show you the full press on that, but we used the Epson EcoTank 2720 sublimation printer. We used A-sub paper. Daniel did a fantastic job making the turns.
So let's show you how we did that one.
Yep. So we printed out a graphic we bought on Etsy and are trimming it to size.
Now we're rolling it onto it after we trim one edge off and put tape on it. This is heat resistant tape. Take a couple of rounds at it because this is permanent.
And gotta get it straight.
Once we have the tape and everything securely on there, we tape it some more.
Always gotta tape that seam.
Roll the top edge in and tape it some more.
And?
On the bottom too.
Yes.
2 pieces of silicone to wedge it in tightly.
Because this is a 20-ounce mug.
We mark it so we know where our heat lines are, and oops.
Take it out, 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 take it out. I forgot to put butcher paper on it.
This was our first time using the A-sub paper, and I wasn't sure if it was going to bleed through, so we wrapped it in some butcher paper just in case.
We trim it to size after the fact.
Which is not how you normally do it.
And turn it by 1/3, wait 60 seconds. Turn it by 1/3 again, wait 60 seconds. And then turn the machine to face you. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, viewing this, I need to see what I'm doing. We'll go ahead and at this point we discover to mark it by 1/3 so we can keep track of our turns. And wait 60 seconds.
And notice that he's using a pot holder. You'll want a heat resistant glove or something because that first part is still really hot.
Like 400 degrees. We let it breathe and check the paper for any residue.
And the A-sub paper did not bleed through. And now it's time for the big reveal.
Peel the tape and put it on your sticky tape ball. Oh my god.
No freaking way.
Oh my god.
Y'all.
Time for some glam shots.
So third time is obviously a charm for us. We did waste a little over $20 on 2 of them, but the lessons are invaluable.
And in the end, we ended up with a really nice tumbler like this and a complete knowledge base on how to make more of them in the future.
We hope that you learn from these as well.
So if you liked what you saw, click that like button, subscribe, ring the bell, check out the list of materials we needed to do this down below, and of course leave us a nice comment to respond to.
Yes, and if you're not watching this on our website, head over to justmydiy.com for more. Thanks for watching.